Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the latest news and updates from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm excited to share today's top stories with you. We're starting off with a developing story from France, where the country's Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, has announced plans to suspend the controversial 2023 pension reforms. This move comes just days before his new government faces votes of no confidence in Parliament. The reforms, which raised the retirement age from 62 to 64, were a signature policy of President Emmanuel Macron's presidency and have been met with widespread criticism and protests. According to reports, Lecornu told Parliament that he backs suspending the pension reform until the presidential election, citing the need to calm tensions and avoid further turmoil. This decision is seen as a significant concession by the government, and it's likely to be met with applause from left-wing parties and critics of the reform. However, it's worth noting that the suspension of the pension reform will come at a cost. Lecornu estimated that it would cost around 400 milliards per centuriam in 2028 BN in 2027, which would need to be compensated by other savings. The government is also facing pressure to get a budget through Parliament that brings down the country's budget deficit, which is currently heading for 5.4% of economic output. The situation in France is complex, and it's clear that the government is trying to navigate a difficult political landscape. While some may see this move as a victory for those who oppose the pension reform, others may view it as a sign of weakness or a lack of direction from the government. As we continue to follow this story, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and avoid taking sides. We'll be keeping a close eye on developments in France and bringing you updates as more information becomes available. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're glad you're still with us as we dive into our middle segment, where we explore some of the most significant news stories from around the world. Today, we're focusing on a development that has the potential to reshape the Middle East peace landscape. After months of intense negotiations, it appears that a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas is holding, at least for now. The deal, brokered by international mediators, includes the release of all Israeli hostages held in Gaza since the deadly October 7, 2023 attack. In return, Hamas has been given approval to act as a Palestinian police force in Gaza for a period of time. Now, we know that this is a complex and sensitive issue with many different perspectives and opinions at play. To help us better understand the situation, let's take a closer look at some of the key points. The agreement includes the demobilization and demilitarization of Hamas, which is a crucial step towards achieving lasting peace in the region. However, as Javad Ali, a former senior director for counterterrorism at the National Security Council, notes, it's still not clear who is going to actually oversee that demobilization, demilitarization. Whether it's the Israel Defense Forces or this international security body that's still not comprised and on the ground. Despite these challenges, there are reasons to be optimistic. As Andrew Miller, Senior Fellow for the Center for American Progress, points out, there is no appetite among the international community for Israel to resume the war, especially now that all of the hostages have been released. And Mick Mulroy, our national security and defense analyst, emphasizes that the only way this plan is going to work is if both sides adhere to what they agreed to do. Any of them fall apart, and it could challenge the rest of the plan. As we consider the implications of this agreement, it's essential to acknowledge the concerns and skepticism expressed by various parties involved. The Hostage Families Forum, for example, has accused Hamas of violating the deal by releasing the remains of only 4 of the 28 hostages who perished in captivity. In conclusion, while there are many uncertainties surrounding this ceasefire agreement, it represents a significant step towards peace in the Middle East. As President Trump said during the peace summit in Egypt, this took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up too. It's going to hold up. We will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as more information becomes available. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I'd like to bring you an update on the ongoing situation in the Middle East. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been a long-standing and complex issue, with both sides experiencing loss and hardship. Recently, a ceasefire deal was brokered, which included the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. A total of 20 living hostages were handed over to the International Committee of the Red Cross, while the bodies of 4 individuals who did not survive their captivity were also returned to Israel. In exchange for the hostages, Israel released 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences and 1,780 detainees from Gaza. The prisoner release was a significant component of the ceasefire agreement, with many Palestinians celebrating the return of their loved ones. However, the road to lasting peace in the region remains uncertain. Hamas has stated that it will not disarm, citing the need for continued resistance against Israeli occupation. Israel, on the other hand, maintains that it must prioritize its security and protect its citizens from potential threats. As we strive to understand this complex issue, it's essential to acknowledge the human cost of the conflict. Over 67,800 people have been killed in Gaza since the start of the war, according to the territory's Hamas-run health ministry. This staggering number is a sobering reminder of the devastating consequences of ongoing violence. As we move forward, it's crucial that both sides engage in meaningful dialogue and work towards finding a mutually acceptable solution. The international community must also continue to support efforts aimed at promoting peace and stability in the region. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.